Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. So today is going to be my video on my personal impressions after shooting this gun right here, the Glock 19X. Now, for all practical purposes, I personally was not a fan of the 19X when it was released by Glock. I felt that it was sort of not what I would want in a carry gun with the long grip and the shorter barrel. I would actually prefer the opposite. However, I decided to take the I guess you could say the leap of faith, thinking that this gun would be a great gun to own. And I have to say that I have been pleasantly surprised on how much I actually love this handgun from Glock. Now, just to kind of go through some of the things that I found when I was shooting this handgun. First off, the grip for me works perfectly. I personally have always been a fan of the Glock 17 grip. I just like the length of it. It just feels a little bit more comfortable in my hand where this little hump comes in the back. And with the support hand coming around, there's just plenty of room on here to make sure you get a very good purchase on the handgun. So that was one of the reasons why I've always liked the 17s, but at the same time, I've always had 19s as well, and those were my go-to carry guns for a while. So now that I've had the 19X and had the experience and really the pleasure of shooting this handgun, it has just been an absolute beauty or a gem of a gun. And I put exactly 176 rounds through this handgun the other day. My intentions were to put 200 rounds through this. And unfortunately, at round 176, my front sight actually spun on me because, and again, this is not a knock against the Ameriglow sight. This is my own fault. I did not put enough Loctite on the threads of this front sight. So after 176 rounds, with everything heating up, the screw in here actually undid itself, and then the sight kind of just went haywire. So I actually stopped at 176. Kind of bummed out a little bit about that because I wanted to get 200 straight rounds through here. Now, my impressions on shooting it, it shoots very well. As a matter of fact, when I got a little bit more comfortable with it, again, you know, I have not shot a Glock in months. I don't own any more Glocks, so this was really the first Glock I got back. And it did take a little bit of adjustment when I first shot it. My groups were all over the place. I actually posted that short snippet and unfortunately dropped the F-bomb because I basically was questioning what the hell was I looking at. And so over some time and getting a little bit more, you know, kind of comfortable with just the Glock itself and just adjusting my grip, adjusting my level of where I actually was pointing and aiming, I was able to, you know, close up those grips considerably better over time. Now, again, I don't blame the gun. I blame myself for that. So again, this gun performed, in my opinion, just wonderfully that day. The only issue I had was I had one casing that actually shot right and hit me right in the forehead. But other than that, all the ejection of the casings were positive. No issues of them coming back to me except for that one time. The other issue that I found when I was shooting this handgun was because I ride pretty high on all of my handguns, I kept holding this the slide release, and as a result, on several occasions, it wouldn't lock back. But again, that is not the gun, that is me. And again, after adjusting the grip and just making sure that thumb was not necessarily nestling itself on that and just riding my hand more, it stopped happening. So again, those were just some little things that I saw when I was shooting the handgun, but very easily able to correct them. So they weren't any issues that were created by the handgun, but just myself as a shooter. Now, the other 200 rounds, because I took a total of 400 rounds, is I actually took this one with me as well, because I did want to do a comparison on how the two shot. In full disclosure, I will tell you, I shoot the M&P 2.0 or full size much better than the Glock 19X out of the box. However, with more time spent at the range, a couple of more 100 rounds down the range, I should have absolutely no issues zeroing this in and getting better groupings. But again, you know what? I'm not going to hide behind shooting steel and never showing anything. You know, I shoot anywhere from 10 to 15 yards, even closer at times. I do self-defense shooting. So for me, the groups don't have to be, a quarter of an inch wide from each other. I try to make sure I get general shots into the center of the body and also center of the face. Now, another thing that I noticed when I actually started shooting this handgun was that when I was doing headshots on the target, my initial shooting was left all the time. Again, I blame myself more than anything else. I would also say that at the range, the target is actually slightly turned a little bit. So unfortunately, I was standing more centered and the target was hanging more to the left. Now, of course, I could blame anything and everyone, but however, I would take full blame for that because I just got to get more used to just, the finger control and the reset on this handgun. The trigger, again, Apex trigger, performed great, no issues. There were no failures, nothing at all in regards to this handgun. So, I mean, overall, this has been a very pleasant surprise in regards to the Glock world. Would I recommend this as a gun for people who love Glocks? Absolutely. I really don't see why you wouldn't want one of these. If you're a person who may say, I'm not so certain about the Glock, you may want to stay away from it, and that's your right to do. I would definitely recommend the M&P 2.0, but either or, guys, if you were going to choose one or the other, you can't go wrong with either one of these. They're both fantastic. They shot extremely well. But overall, so happy with this Glock 19X. And I'm going to show you some footage at the range, and then I'll say goodbye. So I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, and as always, freedom is never free. Dude, what the fuck am I shooting at? All right, so in this video clip, what you're seeing here is really a little frustration on my part. When I first started shooting the gun, it wasn't extremely accurate. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes sometimes, guys, and I'm not afraid to show it to you. And, I'd like to say that eventually the groupings did come a little tighter. And, again, it's all about training and having some range time, and just practice makes perfect. All right, and as you guys can see, as the day went on, shooting got a little bit better. The groupings get a little bit tighter, and really this was in the first probably 50 rounds or so of shooting the 19X that day. So, I mean, overall, it got better. And, like I said, if you're not willing to show your results on film, then it's hard to really put any credibility behind it. And again, I'm not a marksman, but the groupings are a little better this time. So some more practice, and I'm sure they'll get better and better.